Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We are delighted to be joined by Jacob Gibson, former Bison standout, 2016 Great American Conference Player of the Year. And Jacob, great to see you.
Good to see you, Billy. Thanks for having me on.
The last time we had a chance to sit down with Jacob on HSN was back in 2016. You were about to go to Australia at that time to play professional basketball. Now you're getting ready for your fifth season in professional basketball in Romania. And just kind of take us through the past 4 years, what it's been like for Jacob Gibson going to Australia, playing 3 seasons there, and playing last year in Romania, now getting ready to go do it again.
Sure. Well, I really didn't think I was going to have this long of a career, but I'm glad I'm still playing. I did 3 seasons down in Ringwood, Australia. And that's honestly like my second home now. I feel like I've got people that reach out to me and almost like family, how close I became to them through those years. And then I wanted to make the jump to Europe and try and see what I could do there. So last year I moved over to Romania, played for a team called Mediaș in their league, and signed with them again for this season. So it's been exciting. It's been a lot of travel, a lot of airports, different experiences, but I've enjoyed every second of it.
What about the challenges of when you first went to Australia in 2016? You're a 2016 graduate of Harding University, and you're right off to play professional basketball. Culturally, how has that been for you to have those opportunities in Australia and Romania?
Australia was really good for me. It kind of eased the transition into it just because it's an English-speaking country. In a lot of ways, they are Americanized with their entertainment and just the way they live their lives. So that wasn't too big of a culture shock, I guess you'd say. There's definitely some quirks and some different things you had to figure out. My first year, I could hear what they were saying, but it's like it was a totally different language just because the lingo was so different. So there's definitely been some adjustments. But, moving to Romania was definitely challenging last year as far as off the court. But, yeah, man, just trying to keep it pushing, keep playing.
What about basketball? I mean, as far as I saw Jacob Gibson last play in 2016, what about the differences in playing in Australia and Romania? Would I still recognize Jacob Gibson?
Maybe. I try to play a little bit harder defense, so you might not recognize that. But, yeah, just like the reffing and the style of play is totally different once you get to that level. You're playing against grown men. I mean, in the paint, it's almost like anything goes, pushing, shoving. So you got to get used to that. And I've always had a skinny frame, so that was an adjustment for me. The style of play, Europe and Australia actually even have differences. And I'd say my team in Romania this year equated more to the style we played at Harding. I mean, screening, moving away from the ball, cuts, moving, passing the ball. And in Australia, it was a little bit more like America. Like, I wouldn't say street ball, but a lot of transition, not a lot of set offense. So I've learned a lot about the game. It's been good to have both experiences, and I think it's helped me make myself a more well-rounded basketball player.
Now, you're about to leave to go back to Romania early in September, and I know right now you're still here in the United States and working out, getting ready to work out right now. How has coronavirus affected you as far as preparing for this season?
Yeah, it's been a little bit challenging. They ended our season in March, kind of when everything started taking off, and I came back to Arkansas, and it was really hard to find a gym for the first maybe month or two. I was working out outdoors, shooting outside, and I don't know, that's really hard for me now. I'm so used to being in a gym, but as the summer's gone on, there's been more pickup games. I have a great agent, Drew Kelso. He's up here in Jonesboro, and he's helped me and Thomas Sandlin, and they helped me get in the gym and find places where I could work out. And now we're starting to see more 5-on-5 coming back, so we can play pickup and we can all kind of get sharp before we leave.
And also, when you came back to Jonesboro, if you would just comment on the challenges, because obviously your season was cut short in Romania. You come back home, and then there was an event that happened in Jonesboro that you came back to Jonesboro just before the tornado, right?
Yeah, I never lived in a pandemic and never lived through a tornado, but I knocked them both out in like 2 weeks. So they sent us home about mid-March, and then the tornado hit in Jonesboro, I think March 29th, and it really had a lot of devastation. I mean, it's a miracle that no one passed away as big as the tornado was, and the part of Jonesboro that it went through. But yeah, it went straight through kind of where I was living at the time, and I was very fortunate. There was a couple of our neighbors' houses that were even in worse shape than ours. But yeah, that was a little bit traumatic for me for a while. So it took a few weeks to get over that, and then kind of started getting back into basketball. But yeah, the first month or so was an absolute whirlwind coming back to the States.
How does an off season go? We had the announcement. You can go to hardingsports.com and read the press release about your going back to Romania. Is an off season like this stressful with everything going on, and then before you sign the contract to go back to Romania?
Definitely was. The market for overseas basketball has changed dramatically. A lot of teams are struggling to keep their sponsors, or they have decreased budgets. And so I don't envy my agent's job. He's got 50 players who he's trying to help find jobs. And yeah, there was definitely a time there where, late June, early July, when I'm thinking, what's going to happen? Is there going to be a job for me? But just stayed true to it and kept working and prayed for it, and feel like I got a good deal. I'm very comfortable with the team that I played with last year, and I felt like there was a little bit of unfinished business, I guess. We were pushing for a playoff spot when the season was cut short. So I'm looking forward to reuniting with them and seeing what we can do on the court this year.
Now, I want to relive some of your great moments at Harding here in just a few minutes, but I want to still talk a little bit about your experiences playing basketball abroad. What about eating, Jacob Gibson? Where's the best food, Australia or Romania?
More choices, more what we're used to as Americans would be in Australia, but I really enjoyed actually the food in Romania. We have a restaurant that sponsors us, and so we eat there every meal twice a day, which you think you would get burned out on after 7 months, but it's really new. They do a good job with the menu and making sure we have the right diet and stuff. They do these soups at lunch. It's like a tradition almost to have soup before you have your lunch, and I really got to start enjoying that as I was there. So yeah, definitely different.
And I know how you basketball guys are about your shoes. How many pair of shoes do you estimate you've gone through in 5, which will be now your 5th season going into professional basketball?
Since Harding, I can think of, my first 2 years I had one pair that I really stuck with, but I'd say probably 15 pairs maybe. In practicing every day, I mean, you're going to run through them eventually, so that's just part of it.
Yeah, that's a lot of tread for sure. Hey, I want to see if you remember this. And you remember this ring?
Absolutely. 2000? It's 2016.
Yeah, 2016 Great American Conference Championship. And how much did playing on those teams, you won 2 regular season titles, the 1 GAC tournament title while you were at Harding, going to Australia and playing on some really good teams there, some championship teams. How much did Jeff Morgan and Raylan Wood's teams help you to get ready to go and continue winning in Australia?
Man, they helped me so much. I mean, there's a lot of players that can't make it not because they're not a great player. They have the talent, but they don't know how to be a great teammate. I mean, I see guys that are coworkers, other professional basketball players that lose their jobs or get sent home, or their team's not successful, and because they don't know how to be a great teammate. And so that's part of winning a championship. It's got to be top to bottom. It's not one guy, 2 guys that are going to lead the way. It's the entire team is bought in. And so going to a culture like that in Australia, the team culture we had was very similar. I mean, 1 through 10, everybody played, and everybody was willing to sacrifice something for the team. It may be you're not going to score as many points, or you're not going to play as many minutes, but everyone on there is going to have to sacrifice at some point. So, and that's just like those teams at Harding.
I know that you've been able to keep in touch with Coach Morgan while gone, and Ray Lynn as well. What about your teammates? Have you been able to keep up with your Bison teammates? I did see a tweet the other day from Weston Jamison talking about you.
Yeah. Just 2 or 3 days ago, me, Weston, and Hayden. Hayden was up here in Jonesboro seeing Weston, so we all went and got lunch, and we did a lot of reminiscing about some of those old times. And talked about our futures and what we had going on at the time. So really happy for Weston to be up in Jonesboro now. And, some other teammates. I know John just got married. My boy John Hudson. Dawson is now going to be working at Harding, so really excited for him. But, yeah, man, it seems like everybody's done pretty well with what they got going on.
Jacob, I know last season in Romania averages 13 points per game. I know that one season in Australia you averaged 19 points per game. Do you ever tell the guys about the night you dropped 40 in college?
I try not to bring it up too much, but every now and then we'll get into stuff like that. Like one of my teammates was telling me how he scored 20 on Marc Gasol over in Romania, and so I got to bring my stories up, and I'll pull up some highlights or pull up a big Billy Morgan call down at UAM or something like that to show him I can play a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you still have that call. I still get asked about that a lot, and that was back at UAM. And it was a game that was in double overtime, and you couldn't miss that night. And that just kind of go back and relive that game, because that's one that I think that Bison fans remember, along with those Great American Conference tournament runs. But when you turned into Gibby that night, for sure.
Yeah, that UAM game was awesome. I think we were down for a good bit of the game, and I remember in one of the overtimes, it may have been the second one when we ended up winning the game, but Will Francis went for like 10 straight points. So he really took off that game. And I'll never forget Coach Morgan's celebration after that. We were a really tight-knit group. I mean, like I said, down to 8 guys. And, we were chest bumping and flying around the locker room after that. Like we were ready to play another game, even though we were drained. So
what do you remember about – What do you remember about your first year trip up to Mankato and the NCAA tournament victory up there when you were just a baby Bison back then?
Yeah, that was an awesome game. Just that team. I mean, we had so much talent on that team. Adam Sternberg from ASU, Bradley, Zach, AK, Matt Walt. I mean, everybody on that team was talented, and we had the will too. And that's another great example of everybody was willing to sacrifice something to get a win or to do whatever we needed to do. But yeah, man, that was awesome. I wasn't expecting it going in my freshman year. I didn't know what to expect. And so to be a part of that team, good memory.
And I was a little bit disappointed earlier. You and I were talking, and you told me that Gibby did not follow you to Australia or Romania. Tell me what do they call you in Romania?
In Romania, they just go with Jacob, but they say their J is a little different, and so a lot of times they'll announce the lineups or whatever, and it'll be Jakob. So Jakob Gibson starting or whatever. But they had Gibbo in Australia, which is a close cousin of Gibby. They kind of throw an O on the end of everything. So, yeah, it's good.
And what's the travel like in Romania? And are there concerns with going back, and will it be a different look to things after coronavirus?
Definitely. The league just released their protocol, like, handbook today. And so I've got to translate it before I can understand it. But, it looks pretty extensive, and I'm sure there'll be testing and stuff going on. I know there won't be fans in the games, but as far as what the exact details are, we're all going to learn as we go. I mean, everything's been so fluid since the pandemic started, and I don't expect it to be any different there. I know I need to get a negative test, and there's a little bit of paperwork I'll need to fill out to go back to Romania. But luckily, I've already got my working permit, which is basically my visa to get into the country. So that helps, not having to change countries and try something new during this time. That might complicate things. But, yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I think it's going to be a total challenge. The team that can handle what we're doing, Corona, the best, I think we'll have a chance to be successful.
And Gibby, I know that Coach and a lot of the players kept up with what was going on when you were in Australia and now Romania. As far as your family, how are they able to keep up with you? And also, if you could kind of give our fans an opportunity of how they can keep up with your season over in Romania.
Sure. Australia, they had a great job of live streaming all the games. Last season in Romania was actually really difficult for my family. It was difficult for me to get game film even, because I'd get it on a USB and then I would email it to my dad if he wanted to watch it. So it wasn't just as much access online to the games, but I believe this year, because of the pandemic and they want to involve fans, they're going to do a better job at live streaming. And so I'll try to do a good job on Twitter and Facebook, trying to get that stuff out there whenever I learn more details about where it's going to be streamed and those kind of things.
All right, Jacob Gibson, 2016 Great American Conference Player of the Year, Harding University graduate, and now about to begin his 5th season in professional basketball in Romania. Jacob, thanks so much for the time. We wish you the best. Stay safe and can't wait to keep up with you this season.
Billy, I appreciate it, and all the best to you too. Go Bison.